Hello and welcome back to the College Football Podcast, where today we're going to be talking about the first playoff game that happened today, Alabama versus Oklahoma. A lot of things happened. This was a very entertaining game, I will say. Didn't think it would turn out this way, especially with how the first quarter was going. It was pretty terrible, honestly. Um, we were just watching. Me and my mom were just watching it, and OU goes up 17, obviously, and we kind of get that sense of feeling like, oh, okay, this is going to be what Ohio State Tennessee was last year. Oklahoma's just going to run through them, and Bama's kind of going to look like they did against Georgia last week, which is I was watching Josh Pate as well. He kind of said the same thing. So I'm watching it. I'm kind of watching it now. They're up 17-0. I'm not really paying attention. Alabama hasn't moved the ball. I think they had like 11 total yards before that next drive happened. And my goodness, something sparks in Alabama. They get down the field. It's fourth and two, and they go for it. I thought that was a little risky, but I think they had to do it just because I feel like you kick the field goal, like yeah, you get a little bit of momentum, but it's not like you're gonna push through this barrier that you're having or whatever. So I think it was a good thing that they scored the touchdown. I think Lazier Brooks, what a great effort to just go for the end zone. Didn't even try to stop, just went for the end zone, and I think that was a great what's the word I'm trying to find? Just a great effort that he showed in this game. I think that he was kind of the difference maker in this game as well, especially with the corner that they had the very next drive. I'm pretty sure it was. So just a great starting point, getting them back in the game, and then the whole muffed punt block, whatever it was, where Alabama gets the field position. That's when they kicked the three, and that was where I was like, okay, that's cool. We scored a touchdown. We kicked a field goal. We're back in the game. Like it didn't really matter that they scored a touchdown there. I mean, it would have mattered, but I just think that in the situation that they were in, it was perfect to kick the kick the field goal, just take the points that you got and move on. And then the pick six, which was amazing. That was Xavier Brown. Can't remember. I think he was a freshman last year. He's now a sophomore. That kid is something special. Um, I mean, the read kind of. I've noticed this with a lot of college quarterbacks, and I'm not trying to mess with them or anything, but just something I notice is that when they they'll look at a route and the wide receiver is not even looking at them, they're not even paying attention, and they'll still just throw it. The corner's looking at him. The wide receiver has no clue what he's doing. He just throws it, and that's when Xavier Brown just came out of nowhere and just picked it off. It was kind of just like he was expecting a 5 yard out or something, kind of just threw it out there. Man's going on a go, and it was just, I don't know, it's just something I notice sometimes where they'll panic. They'll just look at the receiver and just expect him to turn around at that very second. And it's just like, he's not going to. He's running the route. I don't know what I don't know if he was supposed to run a go or if he was supposed to run the 5 yard out. That is something I don't know. But it's just something I watch for sometimes when I'm watching football games. So then it's 17-17 at halftime. And Alabama starts with the ball. They don't really get much. So Oklahoma gets the ball back, and they didn't do much with it. Alabama kind of just rolls down the field. After that, it was like 3 and out, and then Alabama just goes down and scores. And OU, the offense just looked disastrous from 17-0. 17-0, they're on this high. John Mateer's already thrown for a touchdown. He's rushed for a touchdown. Like, the world is going great for Oklahoma. And then all of a sudden, they kind of just died. Let me read you the drives after going up. So they had a punt, 4 plays, 17 yards, interception, and then end of half, 6 plays, 28 yards. 3 plays, 4 yards punt, 3 plays, 0 yards punt. They had the touchdown in the fourth to make it a 3-point game. That was a 75 yards. And then 3 plays, 1 yard punt, 3 plays, negative 6 yards punt. 8 plays, 44 yards. I didn't even really see it, but he missed, and that was insane. And then Alabama punts, and then they get five plays, 18 yards, and they missed the field goal, and that was when it was over. It was over at that point. So what's that total of? Let's go to the top. Let's go 17-21. So about 50 yards before half. Third quarter, they had a total of 4 yards, and excluding the touchdown, they had 57 yards in the fourth quarter. Besides that one touchdown they had beginning of the fourth quarter, they had 120 total in the second half. They looked really, really bad. It was like Alabama and Oklahoma kind of switched roles almost, where Alabama is looking dead. Ty Simpson's getting pressured left and right. The run game's not working. They can't even pass the ball. They're getting on these 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9s, and Ty can't even pass the ball because he doesn't have the protection to, so he just ends up chucking it out of bounds. And Oklahoma's on this high horse, and then all of a sudden Alabama's offensive line starts figuring it out, and everything works. And then Oklahoma's offense just starts guttering out and not working anymore. And Alabama just took advantage, scored 34-7 from the second quarter with like 7 minutes onwards. 34-7 was the margin that Alabama had. Just a crazy turn of events that happened. I don't know where because they just had one drive that got down the field, the 4th and 2. From what I'm hearing, most people suspect that 4th and 2 was the momentum shift. I honestly think that could have been the momentum shift, but there were the 3 plays that killed OU that I think really just took them out of it. Was, yes, the 4th and 2 touchdown, demoralizing for the defense, but it's okay. The bobbled punt, which, okay, again, you're still up. We still got a little bit of momentum. We can still get down, especially when the defense holds them to a field goal. But then the pick 6, I think, was really the dagger that just showed Alabama's probably going to run them out of the building. And they did. Because 17-0 to 34-24 is not excusable. Alabama wasn't playing offense great before that, and then all of a sudden you gave them a chance, and they took advantage, and they did what they did to you. So I think some things that Alabama's gonna have to work on is starting off the first half hot, especially against this Indiana team. My goodness, Fernando Mendoza, Elijah Surratt, all those wide receivers and running backs, the offensive line. Honestly, if I'm making predictions now from what I saw today, and I'm going to take this from Josh Pate. This is all credit to Josh Pate. He says this a lot, but he was talking about how Georgia had to cut the head off the snake for Alabama, and Oklahoma couldn't do that today. Indiana is a team where I think if they got into that 17-0, they would cut it immediately. It wouldn't be, especially with Kurt Cignetti. My goodness, that coach cannot smile for the life of him. He's kind of like Nick Saban. I kind of compare him to Nick Saban uh, majority of the time, especially with what he's done at Indiana. My goodness, the losingest program to 25-2 in the last 2 years. What a job he's done. I think it's either 25-2 or 24-2. I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. He's great at what he does. And so I think Alabama's really going to have to buckle down this next week before the Rose Bowl on January 1st. That could be a big game to watch out for. I think it's just going to depend on how Indiana is, because they did get the conference championship, but Alabama did too. They've been off. They'll be off for 3 weeks. Alabama only 2, and then they just played a game, so they're warmed up. Indiana, they're gonna have to bring their A game. But I think if they do, this isn't really a contest. I do believe Indiana should pretty much beat up on Alabama. For some of the games tomorrow, I'm gonna go back. Sorry for all the screen shaking. Okay, so we got Miami, Texas A&M. Now Texas A&M 3-point favorites. I'm looking at the quarterback matchup. That's the big thing everybody's looking at. Marcel Reed, Carson Beck. Can Marcel Reed play not like he has been the last 3 weeks? Because, excuse me, my goodness, it's been bad. The Mississippi State game, the Texas game, both of those games were pretty bad. And I think they got to this point where they thought they were immortal, and then reality hit and they started crashing down. Miami's just been trying to make it to this point, so they haven't been really worrying about that. I think rushing the ball is also going to be a big factor, especially for Texas A&M, because they've got a quarterback running back duel, because Marcel Reed can run the ball. Carson Beck's not known to run the ball, but he can if he needs to. I think we're going to have to see if Miami can really stop that run game, because if they can't, yeah, Texas A&M is going to do some damage in that run game. I think Marcel Reed's just gotta kind of slide into the game, just sit down, wait, and just follow his reads. And he's just gonna have to get comfortable again, because I just feel like the last 3 weeks he hasn't been comfortable. He hasn't looked comfortable. I was watching the Texas game. He didn't look comfortable on the road. It just looked bad. Actually, this game, not even joking, is in about 3.5 hours from now. Gonna be playing. But yeah, Marcel Reed, he just needs to just calm down, figure it out, and then he can go from there. I think for Miami, what they're going to need to do is Carson Beck's going to have to they're going to have to start off strong. I think Miami has to start off strong. They got to do what Oklahoma did to Alabama, but they got to actually finish it. They can't just kind of get the offense going. I know their offense is good. I know their defense is good, but it's just I feel like a lot of teams, they'll get this like 17-point lead, and then they'll get confident. We saw it. It was either, I think it was last year. Yeah, it was when Ryan Williams, Bama goes up 28-0 with Jalen Milroe. I think it was like 31-7 at halftime. Like Alabama could have just like the next half get the dogs off the field, scored again. I think Georgia would have been demoralized and just like done to play. But they didn't. Georgia comes back. They eventually win, but I think that was one of the points where again you gotta stop them. You gotta go up, and then you just gotta can't can't say you've won the game. You can't, because Oklahoma did today and they lost. You can't be what is it that Nick Saban says? You can't you can't be focused on success when the success that you're currently playing for you haven't even finished yet. It's the same thing with Kobe when they go up 2-0. It's the infamous interview, and he's like, "Job's not done." Exactly, the job's not done. That was him at. If we're in a football game, that's him at halftime. Job's not done. You gotta. These teams need to just focus on the game. Who cares about a national championship right now? Focus on the game you are playing, and then we can focus on that. So that's just a thing that I think teams need to be more aware of too. Is like they again they just get out to these big leads and they think it's all well and dandy and they're gonna just destroy these guys, and then it's when your guard goes down. That's when they pounce on you. So those are my thoughts. I think Texas A&M definitely can win. I think they can control the line of scrimmage. It's just gonna be the Miami the Miami passing attack, because I know they're really good at rushing the passer. I know Texas A&M is too, but it's gonna be, can Miami, excuse me, disrupt Marcel Reed enough to where they have to strictly run the ball, which they can do pretty good. But if you're playing a one-dimensional offense, I guess a really good team, majority of the time it can't really work. Alabama did show that it can happen, but I don't know if Oklahoma's defense is all that great. Um, and then Texas A&M is going to be establishing the run early and trying to get Marcel Reed comfortable again in the pocket. I want to see him kind of do what I'd like to see is like two straight run plays. If that doesn't work, I would go with a play action. Try to get like the tight end out or something, just short, because I know it would probably be like a 3rd and 5. Just get something out short, right, left side, whatever side you want to go. But just get the 5 yards, get the first down, get the drive started, and then continue building on that. I don't think they need to just go in passing the ball. And then yeah, Miami again. Carson Beck's got to get it ripping early. We know he can do it. He was at Georgia and he did it. Now he's at Miami with some pretty good receivers. I know he can do it. It's just gonna have to be against this Texas A&M defense, which is really good, and then just figuring out the run game as well, because both defenses are good at stopping the run and stopping the quarterback or sacking the quarterback. So those are the big things. We go to this Ole Miss Tulane game, which I won't be able to watch live, at least. Um, but this game, I feel like Ole Miss is gonna come out with. I know they say they're not mad. They're coming out with vengeance. They're gonna come out trying to absolutely kill Tulane. Like they will literally try to kill these guys. I don't see how they can't, because Ole Miss's offense is always just like the greatest thing to watch, especially like against Georgia, 42-37. That was a great offensive game from these guys. They're built to play offense. They're just built to play offense, and it's a masterpiece to watch. So I don't. There's not even really anything I can see where Tulane wins this really. Um, the way they'd have to win is their defense, which I know isn't the greatest. Um, I kind of what is their what are they allowing? I don't even see. I know their defense is a little lackluster, especially in the secondary. I just think Ole Miss's wide receivers are gonna be the reason that Tulane can't even win, especially that defense. Ole Miss's defense, even though they're known for offense, that defense, they're ferocious, and they will, especially a Tulane team that's an American. Like it's this is the one game where I would be absolutely befuddled. Yes, I said befuddled. I'd be absolutely befuddled if Tulane just beats Ole Miss out of the blue. Like I don't see it coming. I don't think majority of America sees it coming. It's just it's out there. If they win, I mean I'll be shocked, but I don't think they're not going for a natty run. That that's pretty self-explanatory. Um, it's just gonna be Trinidad Chambliss doing his thing as he's done all year, handing it off as well, just getting the run game going. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a 45-3 splatting. But again, don't just say the game's over when the game is out of reach. Gotta keep playing. So I do think Ole Miss is gonna win pretty big. I don't really see how they lose this game. And then we go to 4:30. Now at work, I've got a lot of Oregon fans over there. I don't know. I haven't really watched James Madison at all this season, so I'm not really too keen on what they're all about. But I've seen Oregon in big games. I know James Madison's not a big team. I've seen Oregon in big games. They don't look ready. I think this is one of those years where it's kind of like Alabama last year, where they're kind of like they're moving on to a new coach, which they're not, but let's just pretend they are. It's kind of the analogy of they're moving on to a new coach. They lost a bunch of players, and they lost a lot of players to the draft, and they reloaded a little bit, but it wasn't like insane. Dante Moore, I don't know. He kind of at times, especially against Indiana, is the one game I'm looking at is he just didn't look ready at all. Like he looked sloppy. He looked just kind of out of it. Like the games the games that Oregon was close in, he looked it just didn't look good. Iowa is an example. Washington is another example. Wisconsin. Those like four games, it just kind of looked like he wasn't going for it. So I'd be careful about this game. I've seen the Instagram reels of James Madison just trolling the Ducks, thinking they're just gonna walk into Autzen Stadium and just absolutely obliterate them. You don't do that. I'm gonna say it. You can't do that. You're not supposed to. Because now you've lit a fire. I know Oregon. I'm like almost 100% sure the stadium's sold out. Because all the Oregon fans have seen this and they're like, oh, what? Yeah, we're going to the game and we're going to make it pretty bad for you. and we're gonna make the stadium pulse as loud as it can so that you guys don't win. You just, I get you try to be funny, you try to be like Ole Miss, but I don't know. I think Oregon is probably going to win this game. Um, I'm just concerned about later in the bracket, especially Texas Tech. And they'll play, if they win that game and Indiana wins up in the north side, it's a rematch. I don't know how Oregon's going to respond. I don't remember what bowl game they'll be in for the semis, but I'm skeptical about Oregon, especially later rounds. I think I mean, if James Madison plays their cards right and they can just go in there and just silence that crowd, there's a shot. I'm not saying there's no way in heck that James Madison's winning. I'm just saying they have to prove that they've played nobody. I'm just gonna say they've played nobody. James Madison, what did they play? They played Louisville and lost by like 2 touchdowns. Yeah, and oh, what was it? Josh Pate was talking about it. I think James Madison has played one team in the top 15. That was Louisville, and that's the team they lost to. Everybody else is 51 or below. Like they've played nobody. They have to prove that they can go into Autzen and figure this out. So when I go on break at 6 and they're down 28-3, all bets are off. I don't think that James Madison will win, but I would be too shocked if they win because Oregon's team, I think, is a little lackluster. Same thing with Ohio State. I went into the Big Ten championship looking at that game. I looked at Ohio State's schedule. I'm looking at it, I'm like, who have they played? And I get it. Every team schedule is flawed. Yes. Ohio State. If I can get there. My goodness. Ohio State has played, I mean, not nobody. They haven't played nobody. But when you really look at that schedule, let's see. They've played they played at the time number 1 Texas, which they're not in the ranking, or they're probably in the rankings. They played an FCS team, they played Ohio, they played a really really sloppy game against Washington. I was looking at the score and I was like, why is Ohio State not winning by more? And then I heard of Damon Williams, and I've been trying to follow them a lot more. They played number 17 Illinois, who isn't ranked anymore. And then they played 15 Michigan, who I think is like 20s to 25. I can't remember. But they're going into this game, and I'm like, okay, they've kind of played all the bottom feeders. I mean, yes, Rutgers is actually looking pretty decent. UCLA is pretty down there at 3-9. Penn State 6-6. I mean, yes, Indiana almost lost to Penn State. And I don't know. I was just thinking, I was like, okay. But Ohio State's not winning all these games by 50. Like, yeah, Ohio State's winning, and they're winning, what, like 37-9 against Ohio. They're beating Penn State 38-14 and Wisconsin 34-0. They're not imposing their will, though. They kind of dumped it on them, and they kind of just gave up on the game. Indiana goes for the kill. And I think because they've always just gone for the kill in every game that they've tried to play, it showed. Ohio State wasn't ready. They were not ready to give the kill shot. They kind of just played, again, with the Michigan game last year, they kind of just played with their food, as Josh Pate would say. They kind of just toyed with their food, and then they didn't. They the consequences came. Same thing with this one in the Big Ten championship. Indiana came into the game. We knew that it was probably going to be a defensive. I at least thought it was going to be a defensive slugfest. I didn't know how good Ohio State's offense would have gone from week one playing Texas in a big game on the road to now, and doesn't look like much has happened. Not much development. They haven't played anybody of competition to rival them. And then they play Indiana, and Indiana kind of. I mean, it was a good game. I didn't see much of it. We watched the last few moments of it. Yeah, we watched like the last 3 minutes of it, and just watching the missed field goal, and then the drive down, um, the throw, excuse me, from Mendoza, just kind of sealed it. And then I went back and watched it again, and I realized, yeah, Indiana might not have been stronger or better in the aspects that Ohio State was, but they had their own strengths. Jeremiah Smith, yeah, he had some pretty good catches. I'm not gonna lie, he's still amazing, and he's really good. But it was kind of like when they needed him the most, he got it on the deep ball and whatnot. But on like these third downs, 3rd and 6, just somehow he was never open. And I think that's what killed Ohio State was because they couldn't convert on third down. That was another big thing for me. 4 for 12. They could not convert on third down for some reason. I don't know why, or well, that's why I think why is because they just couldn't get Jeremiah Smith open. And then you got to think too, because then you go back, and you're like, oh yeah, Ohio State had another receiver. I know, I don't remember his name, but they have another receiver, Carnell Tate. Apparently, this is supposed to be like the biggest wide receiver duo of all time, Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate was held to 4 receptions for 45 yards. They had a combined 12 receptions for almost 200 yards, but then there was nothing else. Sane got sacked a lot of times. Bo Jackson was running it, but it kind of canceled out because of all of Sane's sacks. So they only had 58 yards, 2.2 average. Julian Sane was throwing the ball pretty well. He had the interception early. He bounced back from it. But just, I don't know, just for the majority of the game, it didn't seem like Ohio State was going for it. They kind of were just laid back and just like, oh, whatever. So, I don't know. I kind of think Ohio State are frauds. I don't. I mean, with what happened last year, there's a big chance that they could easily win the national championship. They have the best roster, money wise, I think. It's going to be, are they going to bounce back from this game? Or are they going to continue to limit Julian Sane? And that's where I think the downfall. They play the winner of Texas A&M Miami. It's going to be, can they beat? Can they not try to play with their food and actually go and compete? I think is what I'm trying to say. Are they going to learn from the loss against Indiana, or are they just going to go into the game, do the same thing that they were doing? Because if they do, I really don't see them winning. I see them as frauds at the moment. They have to prove to me again that they can actually contend for a national championship this year. So those are all my thoughts. I will come back later tonight with the recaps of the first round, and then we'll look at the matchups coming up. I'll try and see if there's any injuries. We'll go over some of the transfer portal that's been happening over the last few days. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the College Football Podcast, and I'll see you guys later.